from it. Now let's look at major events which the Bible says takes place in the period of time known as the day of the Lord. Specifically, the darkness part of the day of the Lord, or what we commonly call the tribulation. Among these events which we need to watch and see happen, which tells us that we are in the day of the Lord, is that the Gaza will be forsaken. Number 2, the land of Israel will be divided, and this will take place in the form of a PLO state. Jerusalem will get divided. That is because the capital of this PLO state will be East Jerusalem. This will result in the judgment of the nations and the fall of Babylon. So it's in the day of the Lord when the Gaza is forsaken. Zephaniah chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, it is written, "The great day of the Lord is near. It is near and hastens greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly." That day, that is the day of the Lord, is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. So the context or the subject is the day of the Lord, the darkness part of the day of the Lord, or the tribulation period. And it says in Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 4, regarding that period of time, "For Gaza shall be forsaken." I believe this is a reference to the Jews that will be removed from the Gaza, which has already happened. It happened in August of 2005. However, we haven't seen the full dividing of the land of Israel, which will be in the form of a PLO state with East Jerusalem as its capital. Joel chapter 1 verse 15 tells us that this also happens in the day of the Lord. "Alas, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat." Jehoshaphat in Hebrew means God judges. And so he's going to bring the nations to judgment. But why? Because he will plead with the nations for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they've scattered among the nations and parted or divided my land. Jerusalem will be divided in the day of the Lord. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 1. "Behold, the day of the Lord comes, and your spoil shall be divided in the midst of you." In the day of the Lord, it says in Zechariah 14 verse 2, "I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. The city will be taken, the houses riveled, the women ravished. Half of the city will go into captivity." That means exile. That means those who are living in half of the city will be removed from the city and be removed from their homes. Why is this going to happen? Because when East Jerusalem is being given for a capital of a PLO state, any Jew that lives in East Jerusalem will have to leave their homes. And so that's what this prophecy is referring or speaking of. "And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city." When this happens, then you have the judgment of the nations. "Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations when Jerusalem is divided, as when he fought in the day of battle." The day of battle is a reference to when Pharaoh and his army drowned in the sea in Exodus in chapter 15, which is a part of the historical Egyptian redemption. What is the form of the context of the judgment of the nations? It will be nuclear warfare. We are told this in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. Their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." Of all the nations on the earth, which nation has been most influential and most responsible for creating the environment that permits or allow a PLO state and the dividing of the city of Jerusalem, making East Jerusalem a capital of that PLO state? What nation of the country is most responsible for bringing about the conditions that make this possible. Is it Zimbabwe? No, it is the United States of America. These policies have been advanced by the government of the United States, which means the greatest judgment that will come upon any nation of the world for dividing the land of Israel and the creation of a PLO state will come upon the United States of America. We can see how the day of the Lord is associated with the judgment of the nations. Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 7 speaks about Jacob's trouble. And in speaking about Jacob's trouble, it says in Jeremiah chapter 30 verse 11, "For I am with you, says the Lord, to save you, though I make a full end of all nations where I have scattered you." The nations are judged over the controversy of Zion, which, as I've been sharing with you, is a controversy regarding who is the legal owners of the land of Israel. Should the mountains of Israel belong to a PLO organization, or does it belong to the nation of Israel, or do we recognize the covenant that the God of Israel made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And when this PLO state is created based upon UN resolutions and international law, are you going to recognize that, or is your allegiance going to be with the God of Israel, and are you going to trust in the covenant that He made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? This is the controversy of Zion. It's spoken about in Isaiah chapter 34, verses 1 and 2 and verse 8, as it is written, "Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon the nations, and His fury upon all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance." And what period of time is the day of the Lord's vengeance? The tribulation period. In the year of recompenses, or payback. He's got to pay back the nations for dividing the land of Israel, for the controversy of Zion. And it is in the day of the Lord where Babylon falls. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1 and verse 6 and verse 19, it is written, "The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amoz did see. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and it will come as destruction from the Almighty." See, once again, the day of the Lord, which is a term for the Messianic era, it begins as destruction from the Almighty. The Messianic era begins with the tribulation period. And during the tribulation period will be a judgment of the nations for dividing the land of Israel. And here there's a focus on the judgment that comes upon Babylon. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. How did He overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah? By fire. Therefore, Babylon will fall through fire or through nuclear destruction. Babylon itself means confusion by mixing. Genesis chapter 11, verse 5 and verses 8 and 9, it is written, "And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore the name of it is called Babel." Babel is the Strong's number 894, and it is the Hebrew word that means confusion by mixing. You see, why is mixture harmful? And mixture was personified in the Garden of Eden by the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. What was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? It was the mixture of good and evil. It personified Babylon. Your choice of Babylon or the tree of life. The tree of life personifies the Messiah, the covenant that was made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Zion. Eat of that tree, or the alternative is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Why is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil a bad tree to eat from? Because it's a mixture of good and evil, and it's a mixture that dulls the senses. You see, when we go to vote politically, what we do is we examine the situation and we vote for, in our eyes, what we perceive as the greater good, because there isn't pure good to vote for. And so if we see that there's a greater good, we will tolerate the evil. And the toleration of the evil, which leavens the whole thing, is actually upon which the Babylonian system is based. How is the United States government able to deceive its people? Why is it that the majority of the citizens of the United States don't believe that the United States government is working against the people to erode the Constitution and to give over the United States of America to the United Nations and to eradicate its sovereignty? It's because of what's presented out here in the storefront, and it has the appearance of good. It has the appearance that you are free, that you can vote whoever you want for. But ultimately, you see, locally, you can vote for a local judge. You have control of who that local judge is. But you know, you don't have direct control of who sits on the Supreme Court. You don't have direct control of the federal judges. And so we'll make it look like that you're voting, that you have freedom, that you can elect judges, but the ultimate issues are decided at the top, and you don't have any control over that. So it makes you look like you're free. It makes you look like you're living in a wonderful world, and it's through the mixture where you have gotten confused. And looking at Babylon, we need to realize several things. And speaking about Babylon, it's a general term for the kingdom of darkness. And there is a historical, physical land of Babylon. It is in the area which we refer to as Iran and Iraq today. When we're talking about Babylon, we need to realize there's also a financial Babylonian system. You see, our monetary system in which we operate in today is not a biblical-based system. It's not a Torah-based system. It is a financial Babylonian system. Then there is a religious Babylonian system. That's all the religions of the world that does not recognize the God of Israel as the King of the universe, that doesn't recognize Yeshua as the Messiah. This is the religious Babylonian system. However, when I'm talking about the fall of Babylon, I could talk about those different elements and aspects: financial Babylon, spiritual Babylon, and there's been many speakers in the Prophecy Club who has talked about those subjects and how those subjects are not biblically based. However, I'm going to be sharing with you and speaking about the fall of Babylon, of an end-time spiritual land of Babylon, which I'm going to present to you is the United States of America. So therefore, let's look at the characteristics of the USA as it fulfills it being the spiritual land of Babylon.